Yo yo yo, how's everyone doing? It's your boy Skilled Fawn, and today we are going to be doing another Liza P challenge run. So let's waste no time and get straight on into the rules. Starting off, I cannot use legions. Legions can be weapons such as the spear, or it could be a shield. Legions are great at building up the boss's groggy / stagger bar, but we will not be using them in this run. Afterwards, I cannot summon any specters. Specters are friendly NPCs that help the player fight the boss, and not being able to summon specters will make things more interesting to watch, while also being more challenging for me. And specters are very similar to spirit summons in Elden Ring, so you can picture it like that, but we're not going to be using them. Subsequently, I have to beat the game. Liza P is a very linear game, but is also quite long. Its gameplay loop is similar to DS3. And lastly is glitches and or exploits are allowed. I'm excited to be sharing this run with you guys. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to click the like button, comment and or subscribe if you haven't already. Now onto the video. We're going to start off with Parade Master. Parade Master is an excellent boss for newcomers and for those getting back into the swing of the game. The slow and staggered attacks teaches the player to be patient with parrying or dodging at the correct time. For most bosses in this game, I will parry them, but there are a few that I play more like a Dark Souls / Bloodborne boss, and eventually we take him down and keep on progressing. Up next, we're going to take down the Serra Watchman. The first 3 bosses of this game I know pretty well because I played through the demo quite a lot and did some speedrun attempts. Out of the 3 in the demo, this was my favorite fight. One thing that the player needs to watch out for is his grab attacks. I touched on it a bit in my previous challenge run video for Liza P, but Sekiro and Liza P share a lot in common. The perilous attacks in Sekiro are very similar to the Fury attacks in Liza P. The difference is that Liza P grab attacks aren't highlighted, so the player needs to memorize the grab attacks. Luckily, this boss's grab attack is very telling, so you're able to react pretty, within time. We do take him down, and we are going to head back to the hotel to talk with Geppetto. At the hotel, we are able to upgrade P organs using something called quartz. This grants Pinocchio, aka the main protagonist, various upgrades such as more healing vials, weapon slots, etc. Afterwards, we head into the King's Flame fight. This boss I still have a bit of trouble with since he has a lot of quick attacks and if caught off guard deals massive damage. This boss also has a plethora of ranged attacks, but these are more so in his second phase. The second phase is the part that I still have the most trouble with because he will shoot fireballs at the player while also covering the ground in oil. If the oil comes into contact with the fire, the player will be dealt massive damage, and usually the overheat status effect will proc. Though I do have trouble with this fight, I do really enjoy it. And after some time, we take him down and progress to the next area. Around and near the cathedral, we find that monsters have sprung up, which has been caused by the petrification disease. The disease is from Ergo and causes puppets, creatures, and humans to take bizarre forms and go insane. Ergo is the thing in Liza P that is actually fueling the puppets. The boss in this area is a great example of this. Fallen Archbishop Andreas is a weird human-frog hybrid that can cause the decay status effect. This is the equivalent of poison in most Soulsborne games, and also causes your weapon's durability to decay. For those who are unfamiliar with this game, I'll quickly touch upon the status effects. Essentially, there are 2 categories, regular, and then there are special status effects. The regular status effects consist of electric shock, overheat, decay, and so on. And this requires a special type of consumable to rid the player of that status effect. but these do not cure the special status effects. The special status effect consists of disruption, more deadly status effects, and these will usually kill the player or deal massive damage. There are a lot more details that could be given, but I don't want to slam you guys with information. And sooner or later, we take him down and progress onward. Subsequently, we head into the Black Rabbit Brotherhood fight. This can be a bit of a gank fest at times, as there are many enemies that can be encountered in this fight. The biggest thing is to not have 2 or more aggro on you at once. Generally, you want the target, or to target the boss that just entered the arena, whether that be the eldest brother or the one of the, siblings that jumps in. Either way, focus on one enemy at a time. The eldest brother is tough at times because he has so many attacks in one combo that the player needs to manage their stamina well and not get too greedy, such as attacking before his combo is finished. Ultimately, we take them down and head into one of my favorite areas in Laxia P. I really enjoy Laxia P, but more so this section and some of the later sections. The music and bosses in this area are amazing. There are 3 bosses in this area. The first is an NPC boss that uses a rapier thrusting weapon. Afterwards is a weird clown puppet that has crazy fist attacks. And lastly is the King of Puppets, which is one of my favorite fights in this game. We head into his fight and take him on. The first phase is a mixed bag, with the beginning of phase 1 being easy and then the end part being quite difficult. Then after that whole phase, the player has to fight another phase, with the boss having a completely different moveset. Romeo, King of Puppets, reminds me a lot of Laxia and some of the harder From Software bosses. This boss, the first time I fought him, gave me a lot of trouble for the reason that his attacks are very stagnant and in some instances can attack 10 plus times in one combo. Eventually he is defeated, and so let's keep going. Champion Victor is the next boss in Laxia P. This boxing type fighter can be tricky to parry since he is using fist to attack. Sometimes the bosses will have some sort of weapon or won't, which can be, hard to gauge when to parry. Similar to, in Sekiro when you have to fight Guardian Ape. It's a bit more tricky to parry just because it's, not using a weapon in phase 1. Luckily though, I do have a fair experience with him. This is one of the few bosses that I actually prefer to dodge more than parry. I will parry his attacks, but generally I will try to dodge, as it's a method that's worked for me time and time again. The tough thing about this fight is his grab attack. Laxia P can be tough because the grab attacks they're fairly telegraphed beforehand, but there isn't something to distinguish it from a normal attack. It would be like in Sekiro if the grab attacks weren't highlighted in red and the player had to guess. Is it possible / doable? Totally. Is it a pain in the ass sometimes? Yes. Sooner or later, he gets Shrek'd, and we are gonna keep progressing. Up next, we enter the Green Monster of the Swamps fight. This boss is a pretty fun fight, in my opinion, but can be frustrating at times due to his massively slow slam down attacks. I'm still trying to get used to the timing of those attacks, because gosh dang, they are slow and deadly. Its phase 2 is similar to the boss in 1.3 that we have already encountered. This version has a lot more variations to those attacks. The main issue comes from the 2 tentacles that the boss has coming out of its back, and this usually follows up after one of its combos. There's also this one attack that is telegraphed far in advance, but if not handled correctly can easily destroy the player. After some time, we take it down and continue on. Subsequently, we find that the Black Rabbit Brotherhood has been working with alchemists to bring the eldest member back from the dead. And this was the boss that we fought near like the middle point of the game. This fight differs as the members that would jump in throughout the fight are all present at the beginning. The saving grace of this fight is that only one of the bosses will aggro onto the player at a time. It's also pretty apparent which member will be taking the lead. This is because they will buff their weapon and say something humorous / backhanded before they attack the player. After taking down all the members or leaving one alive will cause the eldest brother to awaken and grab his large greatsword. Pretty much every combo that this boss has or had previously will be enhanced in some way. In the end, we take them down and progress to one of my favorite areas in the game. We take a submarine over to Alchemist's Isle because for whatever reason all the boats had been taken. Don't know why we took the submarine, but sure. Here we have a few boss fights, with the first of them being Laxia complete. And, you know, the first area in this boss we're just gonna avoid, just because that fight is so, I don't know, it's just so weird. You basically just have to fight this one guy that's blocking this door, and you just have to keep going after his leg. It's very similar to, like, Fire Giant, so pretty boring fight, in my opinion. Yeah, and Laxia is just one of my favorite bosses in this game, so let's just skip right to her. This boss has insane maneuverability, weapon combos, and is fairly tanky. It doesn't help that she has the electric shock status effect, which after proccing will damage the player for more health when hit. This is very similar to the frost status effect in Elden Ring. The biggest issue is the wide variety of attacks she has with her combos, and some of these can be 15 plus attacks in them. Luckily, if the player knows the parry window or just backs off a bit during certain combos, then they shouldn't have a rough time in this fight. Her second phase is definitely the best part, especially when she hurls lightning down at the player, allowing for lightning reversals. Sooner or later, we take her down and head into one of the final bosses. Simon Manus is arguably one of the hardest bosses in the game. He has insane reach, high damaging attacks, and many area of effect attacks. His first phase is fairly simple, since he just uses his right arm to attack. This changes in his second phase when he is reborn, quote unquote, and this ergo monster grows out the side of him and it can conjure up a bunch of attacks. The biggest thing about his second phase is managing your heals and reacting to the various area of effect attacks, since he has more than a handful. Something that is difficult for me is that I'm used to using the Shield Legion in this fight. This was great before since it built up the groggy meter and allowed me to get in extra hits. Since I cannot use legions, I have to get really good at parrying and dodging his attacks. Eventually though, we do take him down and head into the final boss fight. The last boss of Lies of P is actually an optional boss. At the beginning of the end, the choice is offered to the player to give Geppetto your heart or to refuse. If the player refuses, then they will have to fight this boss, and if not, the player will get an ending that doesn't require this boss being killed. Nameless Puppet's first phase is quite easy for me now, but the occasional staggered attack can throw me off. One thing that's great about his first phase is that his fury attacks are a bit easier to parry compared to his phase 2. It helps that I'm using one of the best grindstones in this game alongside a bunch of status effects. This way I'll be able to maximize my defense and offense. Sooner or later we destroy the Nameless Puppet, and yeah, this is Lies of P, no legions completed. This was a really fun run. And even though it was more straightforward than my other challenge runs, it still had its fair share of tough moments. I greatly appreciate everyone coming and watching the video. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I post videos, shorts, or community messages. Thank you again for coming and checking out the video. If you have the chance, make a kind gesture for someone today, whether it be small or large. And yeah, this is your boy Skilled Fawn, and I'm out.